Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Today I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted, how are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
If I was any better, I'd be twins.
Oh man.
Nah, it's too much for the world. It doesn't. So,
Yeah, I don't know what we would do with two Nerdarchist Daves.
da, da, da. Twice the fun. So tonight the topic is the future. So I figured, that seemed like a good topic considering we've gotten quite a few questions about the future of the OGL and D&D.
Indeed.
We even have a video that we kind of shot that's being edited now that's kind of related, but it was filmed before the OGL leak happened.
Right.
So there's all of that stuff going on. So I think like we should just kind of jump in a little bit, some of our thoughts on it, and essentially why we're not going to do a video on the leak.
Sure.
Um, I had someone tell me you should do a video on the leak. It'll be a ton of views. I'm like, I just like one. It's a leak, right? So it's not the official thing yet. I'm
Yep.
waiting to see what the official thing is, and that's kind of been the response I've given publicly for us is that we're just waiting to see what they do before we make any decisions and weigh in on it. And what we want to see what the actual document says.
Right.
But not only that, we have an attorney. We want them to tell us what it means
Hmm.
in layman's terms. And I had mentioned that our attorney had said that he hasn't even looked at any of the leaked stuff and doesn't plan on it. To He doesn't plan on looking at any of it until the official document drops, and then he's going
Be,
to do a
be,
write up on it.
because you really can't do much with the leak because it's not official. It's people talking about it, and until you have the official document that has been publicly released, everything else is speculation. Because all right, well, when you start getting into the lawyerisms of it all, like all right, this information has been leaked. Well, if that leak was done on purpose to help you know rally the troops, be like, no, this is wrong and we don't want this, or we do like this, whatever, like that could have been an intentional thing to try and see, well, how are people going to react to it. One of the things that I absolutely adore that has been happening for a long time is third party publishers. You get, you know, yeah, you're going to have the thousands and thousands of people that are small time content creators, but I mean, you've got massive companies that have, built up an empire under, these names that, we've talked about here on the channel that, we've built friendships and, acquaintanceships with that, we love their products. But if there's, some of the talk that's happening with this OGL, I'm really worried for them because, like, what is that going to mean if Wizards can literally, use and print anything that they've come up with and not have to pay them a dime?
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of weird too. Like, and all this, like, in order to do that, it feels like you'd very much have to sign some kind of agreement, right? Like,
Mm.
in order to do it, or I don't know if it's just printing the OGL is considered consent, but I just don't know. I don't know that they can really rescind the OGLs that are already out there, and then people won't be able to
So,
really use those.
so what information I read was talking about that as of whatever date that they're going to release, and the one thing I saw said like January 13th. Any day, anything that would be printed after that, the 1.0 OGL that was initially released in 2000 is going to be recalled and thus replaced by the OGL 1.1. And anything printed with that original OGL is null and void, and anything printed with the new one would be supplanted. Now, anything released with the original OGL prior to that date, is completely within compliance of the 1.0, but anything after that date with the 1.1 would fall under the new arcing of this, massive OGL, which the one thing I was reading said it's like, as opposed to like 900 words OGL, it's 9,000 words.
Yeah. So I wonder what the difference is between the 3.5 OGL and the 5e OGL that would even allow that mechanism to happen, because why wouldn't have they just done that before and shut down, Pathfinder? Right? So to me it seems a little odd. I'm waiting. Like I said, I'm going to wait for our attorney to weigh in and see what he has to say. Even one of the other YouTubers I was talking to, one of the things I asked them is like, because I know, one of his acquaintances is also an attorney. So I'm like, what did so and so say? He's like, oh, he's also waiting for the official doc to release in order to weigh in. So that seems to be what the professionals are doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we've made moves in the past, and we'll continue to do so to kind of separate ourselves a little bit from Wizards of the Coast. I mean, we tried to start an event company at the end of 2019. If we could have seen into the future, that would have been super helpful. And we might not have. We might have waited on doing that and not
Right.
sunk a bunch of money into that endeavor. But we're also we're also working on our own game and have been before any of this happened.
Right.
And one of the things I've always preached as a content creator and someone who makes stuff on the internet is that, like, whether you're talking about YouTube, Patreon, Twitter, or an OGL, you really are just using other people's stuff. And as
Mm-hmm.
long as you use other people's stuff, you are going to
At
be
any
subject to their whims.
and at any point in time, it could go away. If
Yeah,
something were to happen and it'd be like, all right, YouTube's gone, and they pull the plug. It doesn't seem a wise decision to do so. But I mean, you look at the trouble that Twitter is having, and there's a lot of talk. Hey, well, at any point in time, Twitter could just be turned off. And that's a huge social media that a lot of people are like, oh, I care about the number of Twitter followers you have, and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, all right, well, it is what it is. I personally never got into Twitter. It's not where I want to hang out. It's not an area that I prefer to be in. But it's out there. It's been around a long time, but it might not be for so much longer.
yeah. There was another YouTuber on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's public, so I'll just say their name. Runehammer was like, "Did Elon Musk also buy Hasbro?" So, we're just waiting. And like the video that we already filmed and shot is more about one D&D and how we feel about the future of D&D, and that'll be coming out probably this week. And less so about the OGL aspect of content creation of it. And also, like, you don't really need an OGL to create D&D content if that's what people want to do. You just
Mm-hmm.
can't use access to SRD anymore
Right.
and put it in there. So we'll see. And also, like, I do want to say, kind of in defense of Wizards of the Coast, like, the guys that are making and gals that are making D&D aren't the ones making these decisions. Like,
Right.
they're not like, I don't think Jeremy Crawford's an evil mastermind going like, how can I ruin D&D for everybody and we'll keep all the money. No, it's like, the Hasbro overlords are putting, are making these decisions, and I'm sure the D&D, team is probably very unhappy about that. I mean, you're never going to hear them say it because they can't.
Right.
Or they're crushed by their overlords.
You can't come on and talk publicly about your parent company, and say bad things.
Yeah.
It's not good for your job. But, it is what it is. I feel, in some cases, and I don't want this to all be a negative thing. There's a lot about, there's the other side of the equation about, the new OGL saying that they don't want, racist and bigoted content, that's a part of their game. So that, or sexist, I should say, in there as well. Like, all of that stuff, that's fantastic. I'm loving that they don't want to give a way to add somebody to, put that kind of stuff associated with the awesome name of D&D. So to have that stuff saying, nope, I'm not going to allow you to promote, these kind of things. Yay, this is awesome.
So I guess with all that being said, we have really nothing to say about the OGL until it actually comes out. We have a professional take a look at it, who's much smarter than us, weigh in on it. Let us know what it means for us and other D&D creators out there. But and Martin, maybe it'll backfire. Maybe they're just going to drive people away from D&D. I'll be really curious to see what comes of it, right? Like what people end up doing with with gaming if it does drive a lot of the third parties to do other things. And to be honest with you, like a lot of times when I do the live chats and I have on third party creators, I never ask them during the live chat. But beforehand, oftentimes I'm always like, "Yo, what is your move? If you can't do D&D anymore, like, what is your plan?" And you've gotten a bunch of different different responses. Because like we've heard the rumor of sixth edition since the first PAX Unplugged, I think it was.
So that would be 2017, 2018.
Yeah, so they've been talking about it for a while, at least behind the scenes.
Well, I mean, if I look just like to my shelf, like, I mean, I know that, there's the cipher system, and I do believe Monty Cook allows, people to write into his world. You've got Fate, you've got Quest, you've got Morkborg, um, you've got the massive OGL within the Powered by the Apocalypse, which allows you to, create, even whole new rule sets and what have you. Um, then there's the other game that I'm looking forward to play, because we haven't really gamed in that system since September, but I believe Shadow of the Demon Lord has something out there as well. I mean, and they're very much a D&D-esque style game. The play is very different, and that difference is actually something that I really enjoy about it. um
I don't know.
so
Maybe we'll become a Morkborg channel. Who knows what'll happen?
Uh, I highly doubt that. The Morkborg play style is, I think, the least of those things for me. But
Well, there's a couple of Morkborg spin-offs I want to check out.
oh, I mean, I'm
There's
I'm willing
a
to.
there's a cyborg game,
Mhm.
and then there's also Orkborg.
I've heard good stuff about some more. I would definitely give that a try. And since we're talking about Morkborg, let's put the reminder out there. Tomorrow night is session one, or technically two, of our Vast Grim game. We're gonna play
It,
that for
it,
weeks.
if by tomorrow night you mean Tuesday.
I'm sorry, this is usually done on Monday. My apologies. Yes, Tuesday night during our normal gaming time, we'll be playing some Vast Grim here on the channel, and all of your usuals will be here, and we're gonna kind of continue the story from our last session, about a month ago.
What 2D20 systems are there? I think Star Trek and Conan spring to mind. There might be more. I'm not entirely sure though. I haven't played any of those systems yet. I've
I mean,
heard good
there's
things
a lot of
about the
there's a
Star
lot
Trek
of
games.
love for Conan in general, so I mean, I would definitely be into checking that out. And we've talked about this on the channel, but like, Battle of Crom, or Hymn of Crom, whatever it's called, was like our go-to
Anvil of Crom.
Anvil of Crom. Thank you. Was our go-to
Something something Crom.
decade. Yeah, something of Crom. But that was like our go-to thing. And like I even bought the soundtrack and would have it like ready to go. I don't know where that CD went, but I'm certain I could pull it up
Yeah.
on number of playlists.
I did back a Kickstarter called it's Into the Viking Verse or Viking Verse, and it is a Morkborg hack, but it's like I think it might be like Space Vikings.
Okay.
So it's like if the Scandinavian countries kind of continued to exist and were to have kept going, is kind of like the premise.
You know,
So
I mean, there isn't a system out there that, doesn't, that's not worth giving a try at least once, that I've that we've talked about. And I've got a handful of things here that are like, all right, well, at some point in time, I want to check these out, but it's about whether or not, that's going to happen anytime soon.
yeah, I mean, so like I don't know, for people that are familiar with us, you might already know this, but for others, like we basically have a Saturday night game that runs 3 Saturdays out of the month. Two of them tend to be D&D, and one of them tends to be something else, right? So, but because we only play once a month, it takes us a while to cycle through, through all the sessions before we get to another one. So we're playing like a new game every year, I guess, is what it works
And
out to be.
this one is going to take longer because like it's typically a session 0 and then like a 12 session arc. Well, the Shadow of the Demon Lord game in October there was some kind of issue, and we wound up. I ran Zoom Mafia for the group. In November we had a scheduling issue, so we didn't play. And then in December we take off entirely from our usual monthly gaming, and so therefore we haven't run our Shadow of the Demon Lord since September. Like when when the DM shows up, later this month, it's going to be like, all right, please, I have no idea what the flip is going on.
Yeah, I like all the sessions have kind of merged together in my head at this point. Although, I mean, that game's been fun to play just because we haven't seen so many character deaths in a campaign in a
Mm-hmm.
long time.
We've seen 3 or 4.
Uh, I think it's three. I think I've died once and James has died twice.
Okay. If I look at
So
my character sheet, I have like the player name and then who
yeah,
their were, and every time somebody dies, I just put a slash and then write the next name.
yeah. Well, although I will say, like, I feel like every session or every other session, me and James both press our luck as far
That's
as
true.
whether we're going to survive or not. So we might see some more characters' deaths before this is through.
Well, I mean, we're gonna start. I believe we're seventh level, so we've got 8, 9, 10. So we've probably got like 3 more sessions. That's enough room for 1 or 2 more deaths,
I
right?
think so. I mean, we've done 2 deaths in one session, so we can pull it off.
It is a fantastic role set. There's some hilarity. We got to see Hateful Defecation cast, so it's all good.
So Crow Goblin just got Orkborg. It is Morkborg with Warhammer 40k orcs. Nice. So are we
But
painting
40K
everything
orcs
red?
or just Warhammer orcs?
Well, he says 40k, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, just remember, red makes it go fast,
Paint everything red.
right?
Yeah, I don't know if you could directly live that. That feels very specific.
Well, I mean, you don't need to put it in the rules, but I mean, you can
Mm.
play. A...
Give out magic items that make things faster, and they all just happen to be red. Yeah, that could be fun. What do you guys think we should play next after we're done our Shadow of the Demon Lord game?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of people weighing in the chat talking about Modiphius has lost the Conan license. There's Viking Death Squad, Castles and Crusades.
I think Viking Death Squad is another Runehammer game. He's made a few at this point. Like 40k Space Orcs, but Cyborg Orcs.
Okay,
You can't go wrong with Cyborg Orcs.
yeah, I
Plus, the
mean,
whole game based around orcs sounds like fun to me.
that the Dresden Files fate is something that I'm interested in getting into at some point in time. Brimstone. Before that had come out, I actually ran a small campaign that wound up, like so many of our others in the past, floundering. Um, but the I ran it in Mutants of the Mastermind, Mutants and Mastermind. We did it was a power level 6 game, and it was fun. I actually have the rules down here in my massive stack of Fate stuff. So
I think I would want to wait a while before doing a Dresden Files, just because it's so similar to Monster of the Week. I feel like
sure,
not the rules, but the style of game.
sure.
You know, so I'd like to maybe delve into some things we haven't done yet.
Oh, totally. I'm just just saying.
Just saying, nah, but nah. So is there a is there also a there's the Fate book, but is there also a Fate Accelerator for Dresden Files?
I think there might be. Yes.
That because I think they did the core. I think they did like the Fate core first, and then I feel like they might have went back and did a accelerated later.
Dresden Files Accelerated. It exists.
It does exist. Da, da, da. So that might be an interesting place to go. Someone says D&D rules encyclopedia. No thanks. This is our non D&D game, so we don't want to replace it with. We don't replace our current game with more D&D. Also, like I kind of like the fact that in that game, in that in that camp or that group, we've played less like fantasy games. Which we get because we get plenty of fantasy.
Right. Even though we are playing Shadow of the Demon Lord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But before that was the Expanse and Monster of the Week.
Right.
So
I
I don't know.
definitely dig I definitely dig some modern stuff, and we haven't really gotten, a whole lot of that. I mean, when you start talking about the future, there's plenty of games, that we could delve into that go in that future area. I'll throw this out there, even though I know you're not a big fan. Like there's a Star Trek role playing game that's out there. Like you could get into that kind of aspect of things. We played a long Star Wars campaign, so like there's no real need to revisit that, but you could. So I mean, there's definitely future games that are out.
Marvel Phase Rip. No, so who asked? Silver Triforce. We've got a couple Mutants and Mastermind games on the channel. I want to say there's got to be at least two, right? That we've played. You do a channel
So
search, or even do like a general YouTube search, add Nerdarchy to it, Mutants and Masterminds. I'm sure some stuff will come up. We also did 2 seasons of a Marvel Phase Rip system, so we played that as well on the channel. So we played a few things. We've done some Cipher system on the channel. Um, what was that? What was that? I don't know if it's on the channel or not. Was it Gamma World that totally like the total Gonzo game that Scott ran for us?
oh yeah, that was that was
What
a that was a hilarious Gamma World
he
game.
he did a the thing that stands out to me is he did like a saloon full of Kurt Russell characters. That was like, to me, that was the best part. Uh, Earthquake. There's an earthquake there. That's why.
Yeah. Nah, it's unfortunately the table that my camera is connected to was too close to the table. So when the one table is touching the stand, it was shaking. I apologize.
Essentially, Ted's got to sit his ass still.
I don't think that's possible. I need to, move and fidget and what have you. Otherwise, I explode.
I've heard good things about Blades in the Dark. I would definitely like to give that a chat.
That is
A
that is
try.
on the list.
It ultimately just comes down to there are far too many games and not enough time. Um, and then I would like to get maybe some more games on the channel at some point where we're streaming something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's been some talk, in house about like trying to get, different companies to come, like just run a one shot for us, and give us some exposure to those games, and give you all some exposure to those games. I know at PAX Unplugged, I talked to the fine folks from Ninth Level, and they were talking. They'd be happy to run Kobold's 8, which is a hilarious game that's perfect for one shots. It's a beer and pretzels game.
Hal King Torg.
All hail King Torg. Um, you know that's one of those that I think would just be a lot of fun to run with our typical Tuesday crew.
So Danny Bell says we got to do Mutants and Masterminds game, but the setting is 90s and MTV stars as paranormal investigators.
Dude, that sounds amazing. I,
Uh,
you just volunteered to run that game.
I'm sure you do an amazing job of it.
Absolutely, you would. I,
Brimstone, any chance you guys will be going to PAX East? I don't even know what PAX East is. I have to put in my vacation time at work. I have to like mass put it in.
but if we're talking about upcoming conventions and that kind of stuff, I think that'd be a perfect segue to talk about Ice and Dice convention. Not this coming weekend, but the following. I am going to be in Ohio at that convention. You can come play some games, check out the panels, go to the VIP meet and greet. That I and a number of other awesome people are going to be there for that. So if you're gonna, I believe it's in Cincinnati. If you're gonna
Yeah.
be around that area and feel like coming and hanging out and doing some awesome gaming stuff, it's a perfect time to talk about that. And it's a convention that's geared towards more games besides D&D. So if you want to find out more about some other RPGs, that's a great time. I've got 2 games scheduled. One is a D&D, but one is our own lovely Zoo Mafia game. So you can sign up for such a wonderful game as that.
Yeah, and down in the description you find a link to both of those things, both the convention as well as the quick start rules for Zoo Mafia. You sign up for the newsletter, get access to the quick start rules for free. Also, I guess at this point we should mention the sponsor to this video and our weekly live chat is Easy Roller Dice. Whether it's your first set of dice or your 1 millionth set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for all your dice rolling needs. There is a one-time coupon code in the description as well that gives you 25% off your first order. So nothing to sneeze at. And also, we've been rolling their dice for a long time now.
Indeed. And if you sign up for their newsletter, you can get access to pre-order stuff and their sales and that kind of thing. I know right now they're taking pre-orders for their new Sharp Edge resin dice. Should have pulled up the information, but it's something about like the amber shards and they look gorgeous. So I'm hoping to get a set of them myself in the near future. So you definitely have to check out Easy Roller Dice because their stuff's great.
Silver Triforce says someone who's never done D&D but has encyclopedic knowledge of Marvel and DC comics, so perhaps a conversation is on the way. Well, Mutants and Masterminds also, when they did their third edition, they released it. They originally released it in DC, so you have all the DC heroes and villains and the setting to play with if you wanted to use that system with DC Comics.
And some of the generic superheroes that they have, it's very obvious who they've lifted. So like, you
Yeah,
be like, I'm going to use this build and say that you're playing, this person or that person. You could easily be like, if they've got DC and Marvel, you could have your own game be like a blending of the two worlds. And, that's the crisis that you're trying to deal with is to, separate the worlds and allow them to go back their own way. I think that could be a pretty fun way to do it. And, if this person's got that kind of knowledge, then perhaps they could play like a Dr. Fate-esque style character that is involved in all of this and has seen both worlds and would be able to use the knowledge at their disposal.
um, I used to lurk in the Atomic Think Tank forum a lot over at Green Ronin. That's their like Mutants and Masterminds. So if you were to like hang out and sort through there, you could find like every character that's ever been made by the community over there, pretty much. And the system's really flexible, so it's easy to make pretty much anything.
Absolutely. Music Masterminds does take a little bit longer to make characters over a game like D&D. But like once you make your character, like you've got everything. Like it, yeah, you do have the ability to level up, but or like it's not the same kind of thing where a vastly leveled up character in D&D is so much different than what you do as a start. Whereas like you're getting a little bit of new options or building in a particular direction. But when you make a Mutants Masterminds character, they're ready to go. Like they've got everything that you should be expecting them to do.
Yeah, I mean they're basically a full fleshed out character at the point. You're not going to get much better. That's an interesting question. Why do you choose violence, harmless? Can Ted use a sword? Ted's
Uh,
Ted's a well-known swordsman. He's slain many a pinky.
it's index finger, damn it.
Oh, whatever.
And it's not many, it's two.
A few.
Unless you count my own.
That's true. You did get that as well. I believe Pro it's a black belt as well in Tang Soo Do or Taekwondo or something. I remember that coming
that that definitely makes
Mm.
things a little bit worrying for me.
Yeah. We're also very old at this point, so I don't think we should be fighting anybody. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, my battles begin every day in the morning, getting out of bed. That's enough for now.
I don't quite have that aspect, but there's definitely enough challenges in my life that I don't need to go um seeking more out. So
So also worth mentioning too is you've got nothing to do in July 8th through the 12th of this year. Both me and Ted will be at D&D in a castle. If you were hoping to score a seat at Ted's table, you are out of luck. His table is filled up and is sold out. Mine still has a couple seats left, so you could still game with one of us at least, and you could hang out with both of us in a
yeah, I mean
castle.
there's definitely hangout time involved with all of this stuff. So like you could definitely have fun and chill. I'm super stoked. I got the email a couple of days ago to let me know that my table is sold out. Now it's about getting in touch with all those players and figuring out what kind of story we want to tell and what direction that they're looking to go. So this is going to be utterly fantastic. Dave's got a small handful of seats left, so if you're on the fence, I highly recommend you go and look into it, see if you can reserve that seat and do like one of their payment plans to get it going. Because I imagine his table's going to sell out soon.
Yeah, you wanted to actually this year. You wanted to actually go as a player too, except for they
My
did it differently.
Yeah, my thought pattern was I wanted to see the other side. You've managed to go as a player once. Um, and that's a whole cloth different experience because like when you're as a player you're just showing up to have fun, and when you're there as a DM, yeah, there's a lot of fun in running games, but there is the absolute pressure and the weight of I need to provide this experience for these players, and you need to do a whole lot of prep ahead of time. Like I do even more prep while I'm there to be like, okay, well now I've got this information, this happened in this last session, so I've got a few hours before this next thing. Let me look at this, let me look at that, make some changes to the stuff I've already got. When you can just roll in as a player and just be like, I'm gonna do as I please, like that's dude, man, that's awesome. But I understand that there's the cost involved. So I was like, well, look, if I just do the travel once, I go and either play and then run or run then play, so it's got to be like when there's a back-to-back sessions in order for it to work for me. But when I'm going to be in there in July, that wasn't really an option. So I'm like, all right, well, it's not going to happen here, but maybe 2024.
Maybe in the future it could be a thing for
Ooh,
sure. So,
Well, I mean, since we're off tangents, I will say that it is the first Monday of them or Sunday now, getting into my usual thing. So I guess I gotta, announce the giveaway and the gaming announcement. So this month it's a hefty box, but stat trackers. It's a nice GM accessory. You hang these little note cards on your GM screen to help track initiative. It's got the stats and information, on the cards that you can be able to, make references. There's blank sets in here as well for you to put your own monsters or make your own changes to kind of things. These are great. I've used them in a handful of my own games to streamline some things. There's player reference cards, in here to be able to add them in across the top as well. And that's going to go to, and I find this amusing that I'm saying this name, but it's going to Barry White. The Barry White or not, but it's Barry White. So I will be in contact with, that person to let them, to get their address information and send this stat trackers package off to them, as well as we have Dave as this month's Game with the Fans winner. So as always, I read off the list. Dave, emails them out. And when, usually the first 5 people to respond can get in, and Dave will let them know when he's willing and able to game. So we've got Brian Burrell, Cleo McCarthy, Jeremy McGaughey, Gavin, Chris Dorian, Chris Clayton, Kyle Allen, Larry Thuralt, Stan Kindernecht, and Will Noble. So congratulations to all of those people. And, Dave will let them know when he's able to get that game kind of rolling.
yeah, well, the emails will go out. Sorry, harmless. There is no recordings of the Shadow of the Demon Lord game. Um, Not even on Patreon. My wife's in that game. I don't think she would want to be on a streamed game. For sure. I don't know about the rest of the group. The rest of the group probably wouldn't care that much.
Yeah, I'm certain some of them would be, completely okay with it. But even if one player says I'm not really interested in this, then it's a no bueno.
Yeah.
That's how it flies.
Plus, like, there's a whole reason why we stopped recording our at table games, and mainly because we did a shitty job of it. And like, we had like we when we were doing it, we got to the point where we're like, either we need to stop doing this, or we have to, we're gonna
We have
have
to
to do
step
it
it up.
differently. Yeah, we're gonna have to definitely step it up, because back in the day, we just put one camera on the far end of the table, and it's a pool table, so it's really wide, so that makes it even harder to get everyone into the shot. And then we'd hang like one Yeti from the ceiling, and and then we would just let it fly.
Yeah, it's a rough situation, and there is definitely a difference between running a game and acknowledging that there is an audience, and it's another where it is just the table. And with our not D&D group, that's a rotating GM scenario. So some GMs might be okay with it, some GMs might not be.
Right.
Uh,
Although the current GM is an improv comedian, so
yes. When you have you know, the pressure lifted that whatever we say and do is just going to remain amongst, the half a dozen or so people that are, at the table that night, you don't have to worry as much, and you get to just kind of get into the game. And we've had a number of, little slip ups and things where it's like, all right, well, I guess we got to take note of that and go cut that out, or the glare across the table of, well, that's not acceptable, dude. Like, how do we move forward from this? Um, you know,
or stuffing our face with pizza while we're playing. No one needs to see that.
well, I mean, there's a whole sect of people that like to see that, and I don't judge. Um, the Shadow of the Demon Lord game is great. It's a fantastic GM in a great setting and what have you. But as much as it would be like we made that determination a long time ago. It's taken a lot of the pressure off, and we just roll. And if something happens, if it's something that happens that's worth talking about, we usually talk about it
Yeah, that's true. Usually we kind of recap the games, in our weekly live chat.
here. It's not entirely thanks to Critical Role doing an awesome job. Like
Mhm.
they've got the dollars and the production to be able to put forth a fantastic game and be able to roll out with their amazing set and their amazing battlefields when it comes to that stuff. But ultimately there are other channels out there that do a great job as well. Devil's Luck Gaming, they I don't know if they're still out there, but I know for a while they were, and they come in like full costume to their set.
They're still going. They play, and they also play a lot of other games as well. But
Mhm.
they all cosplay their characters and they play together in person.
Yeah,
Right
so
around the corner from Ted's house.
they are really close. I know there was conversation about them, moving and what have you. So I don't know if they're still right around the corner. But I
Yeah.
know how they were. But in the end, it comes down to, did we want to completely and utterly revamp and spend a whole bunch of money to put forth a whole new production element
And also draft our friends into it as
and
well.
and force our friends like, hey, you're a part of this group. That means we're going to do this. Uh,
Yeah.
the one game that we're in, there's definitely some things that I would feel maybe not uncomfortable with, but I feel like there's enough people that would have some problems with, uh, the elements of your current game. So, you
Oh yeah, yeah.
don't have to worry about that stuff when it's just friends, goofing around in a basement.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that game's taking some weird turns, and we get back to it this coming weekend. So
Yeah, I'm
I have to
very.
find the write up to figure out where we left, where what
Oh,
happened.
I gotta send that.
Oh,
I
is that you? I wasn't sure if it was or not.
Yeah, I wrote it, and usually it gets dropped like the week before, so I'm like, all right, well, I guess I gotta do that. But I wrote it, like right away, so I didn't forget. Uh,
Yeah.
but thanks for the reminder. I will find that out and drop that in the chat.
So in we have this one real awesome player that plays in one of our games, Dr. Kurt, and he takes like the most amazing notes, and then he puts them into a Word doc, complete with images in his character's voice. And it is. I don't know if the other players actually read it, but the GMs always do, and it is like a godsend. It's like part of my GM prep.
Yeah, it's kind of a needed thing. We've been very very incredible, very very happy to have Kurt joining us for the years now that he's been gaming with us. Um, so it's fantastic, and it's awesome to be able to have. It is a lot of work to do what he does on a monthly
Yeah,
basis.
because he wasn't there the last time, and you took over.
So like, Dave was making the whole thing of like, all right, well, if Kurt's not here, who's doing the notes? And I think he was saying it like kind of cheekishly. But like I had already made the determination that I was so thankful for what Kurt's done.
Yeah.
Gonna do it once just to see what it's like. And damn, to try and be involved in combat and role playing and taking notes, because like some things that he does, for these notes, like incorporates what's specifically been done in combat. So I'm like, all right, I need to do this, and doing it from the perspective of my, almost egocentrical self. So I'm like,
Sometimes he includes the blooper sections of things that have come up in his searches when he's going to add images to it, which is also kind of amusing, and definitely um, would not be the proper would not definitely need not does not belong in a stream game.
well, I mean, we have some interesting, shall we say, character names, and we'll leave it at
Yeah.
that. that definitely make for some challenges when you start looking at image searches.
But that, yeah, you know, and you know, for us, it was fun in the early days to kind of put our games kind of on the internet and let people check it out. And you know, I feel like for us anyway, like we carried it to a point, and then like a bunch of other people took over and just were doing a better job. And it was all, you know, it's awesome now. Like now you can't throw a rock at YouTube without hitting a stream game, an actual play of some sort or another. Which it was funny too, because when someone pointed out that we had started like a year before Critical Role, but it just felt like because Critical Role was so big, it just felt like they'd always been there.
Right.
So
But I mean, I'm not going to knock those people who, have come along and have done it better, or what have you. Those that want to get into costumes, those that want to really dive deep into voices, it's fantastic. It's one of the great things about role-playing games is that you can get into whatever aspect of the hobby, you really want and make that be your focus.
Sean James, what's the best way to eliminate a horde of orc barbarians? Free beard.
What did you say?
Free beer.
Free beer. Okay.
Just in time says meat pies. You just need to distract them for a while. Get them drunk and let them pass out someplace so they can sleep it off.
Yeah,
They
that
won't
could
be as
work. And
angry.
and then of course, while they're sleeping it off, that's where you can get the assassin to go in and slit some throats.
Could definitely do that. The exploding kind. Um, so you know, kind of like going back to the future topic that we've kind of like bounced in and out at a little bit. But mostly it was just a easy way for us to talk about, you know, what was going on with the OGL and leave it open enough for us when we, you know, put together the newsletter and do our writing to do something with that. But I will say, like, I've been trying to like foreshadow some stuff in the future into those bastards game, with my Unga character. That I just kind of decided to do it on a whim. That like he feels like he's got this dark destiny ahead of him,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and so I've been like trying to work towards that. And it's really hard in D&D to do anything with the future, you know, just because it's so chaotic and you're not writing a novel and you got all these people with different input into the game.
That's one of the things that I really enjoy about that game, and I've said this on and off the stream. Those bastards, I feel, takes the magic of our Tuesday group that I adore and has taken it to a new level. It's literally of the you know 30 plus years of gaming, one of my favorite games of all time. And Robin just does a fantastic job, and they put those mirrors in there for us to kind of see, like, put our own predictions for what the future might be. And I feel like it directed you and I in two very different directions for our characters. You went super negative and I went super, like, humble positive future. And I feel that one moment that was just this crux decision has put this vast,
Ugh.
you know, wide path between our, not wide path, but like diverging path, between us. So I think that's it's gonna be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, Sheldon's gonna get his black iron exoskeleton, and it's gonna be all tricked out and make him look like kind of the crab version of War Duke.
I'm a little worried about Sheldon. I mean, he's potentially a warlock now. He's got his own familiar.
He does. He does.
So who knows how that's gonna play out. And
He's like the first proxy warlock.
oh, I'm pretty sure that things are gonna eventually be like full on warlock with him.
Well, no, I mean in the sense that he got the warlock powers, but Unga made the deal.
Right.
So
So I'm waiting for, at some point in time, for Robin to just You go to say something and be like, nah, he does Eldritch Blast.
That'd be good. Right from his eye stalks.
No, it's got to come out of his claws.
Hmm. We'll see. We'll see what Robin decides, but good times, good times. Unga and Sheldon will be the BBG
All right,
for
so I
level
mean,
20.
we've got some Spelljammer, we've got some Artificer, we've got some Eberron stuff. You know, there's not really a whole lot of modern uh or future with legitimate D&D. There's definitely third party stuff that's out there.
Yeah,
But
that what is it? Anybody's Heroes? Basically recently dropped.
yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
So
Uh,
it's a 5e conversion kind of like for modern.
okay.
But also like I think they also did a bunch of I want to say modules, but they were like all 80s action movies.
Okay.
Unless I'm merging two things together that have nothing to do with each other. Either one is possible.
Like I know that there's some legitimate sci-fi stuff that's out there, but do you think that we'll ever see anything beyond the little segment in the DMG about how to do D&D, in a future-esque situation?
I don't know because are you talking about official Watts?
Yes, official lots.
I don't know, man. I was kind of like disappointed and bummed when they outsourced all the Hasbro properties into
Uh-huh.
RPGs. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you have an RPG company. Why? And a
Uh-huh.
game system. Why didn't you just do that? Like,
Yeah, it'd be cool to see, the D20 rule set for Transformers or G.I. Joe, and they're like, let's put it over here.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you still can. It's just and it's great that those people got work on it. I mean, at least Teg, who we both interacted with and are friendly with, has done a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of work on those properties, which is really cool. But also, like to me, it's just weird to be like, okay, let's just send it somewhere else. And also, you gotta I gotta imagine like the D&D team would have loved to get their hands on that stuff,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
absolutely. I mean,
there's definitely got to be some crossover in those fandoms.
to be like, all right, I want a D and D eyes Snake Eyes, or I want a D&D eyes Bumblebee. Like
Yeah.
that look like, that could be some fun shit.
Yeah, we take questions, suggestions, whatever you want in the chat. Um, keep it PG-13, please. Ish. VSG Vormax question. I would like help finding a D&D group to play 5e. I used to play 3.5 a long time ago. So there's like there is a bunch of resources, right? Like there are so many tabletops, virtual tabletops at this point that all have looking for group. Um, there's start playing games. There's demi playing. You can just even try going to your local gaming store and see if they have game nights that you can jump in on.
I know our Discord has an LFG section. It's
Yeah,
not
there's probably so many discords with that too.
right. Yeah, so if you go to any RPG fandom, Discord, there's going to be, an LFG to some extent.
Uh,
All of those are good options. I think the local gaming group is always a good place to start. Not local gaming shop, your FG. Um, is always a good place to start, because then if you're looking to go like local in person, well, you already know you're local because it's people that are willing to travel that far. I mean, I know I've traveled, 45 minutes to an hour to to game over the years. Now my typical seat is about 10 feet away from me now.
yeah.
Um,
Is Meetup still a thing? You probably find games. Yo, I remember my brother. I think my brother put out a Craigslist ad for a D&D group, and I played in that group a little bit as well. That's where Stefan came from when he was
okay, I
there.
was gonna say, isn't that where he came from?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many ways. I think Ted did, but that was a long time ago. Did you guys
Did
ever
what?
play the various D&D C RPGs out there? I think C is for computer.
Oh, I mean, I've played a variety of computer games. Um, you
You guys
know,
all played like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter's Night, right?
I played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. I played Neverwinter Nights. I think there was another one. Um, but it's nowadays my
Uh,
computer's a brick that couldn't handle any of the high res graphic stuff.
wasn't like Pool of Radiance? Like, wasn't that like the first one?
There was Polar Ratings, but I think that one came out before I got into computer.
Yeah.
And there's, like I said, there's definitely a bunch out there. Um, it's about what you want to get into.
Yeah. So Sean's asking about drought sleep potion and how to get over it, or how to defeat it. I actually don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if just having, if you have the, what is it, the anti venom in your system,
Mhm.
if, what that does. Does 5e, 5e doesn't have a paladin will do the trick, right? Because they can get rid of poison
Yeah.
condition with lay on hands. Lesser restoration probably does it.
How could you counter it while it's still in the bottle? I mean
Break it. The barbarian says smash bottle.
that works.
Um,
Here, I'll make a diehard quote. Shoot the glass.
yeah. No, I think, right. Is it destroy water? Right? Would you allow someone to use destroy water on it?
Sure, that makes sense.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
I mean, what if you only, even if it only destroyed all the liquid, you're left with the powder. It's not as useful.
Yep.
So I think, I mean, there might be some things you can do like that. Purify food and drink might be a creative use of it.
Neutralize poison, Martin says.
Is neutralize poison still a spell?
I don't know.
There used to be slow poison as well, which I know that's not a slow spell anymore.
Yeah, that definitely didn't make the cut.
I feel like lesser restoration absorbed a lot of that stuff. So
I'm a
Tom,
little late to the discussion. We kind of talked about that within the first 10 minutes. So when we're done, if you want to just kind of rewind and watch that, that first little bit.
yeah, we gave our thoughts on that thus far, and now we're just kind of rambling towards, as we wind down towards the end. I see, that's what I see in the future of this video.
So as we kind of talk about future and what have you, and we look at like some of the old school D&D art where like, the dude's got like a literal ray gun. Um, what are your thoughts on, sci-fi tech and, that kind of weaponry within a typical D&D game? What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know, Ted. I did introduce a kaiju prison ship into one of into our, like, the first long running 5e campaign I ran.
You did. You did.
Uh, that kind of caused a minor cataclysm in one of the cities.
Oh, so, Rylor is, completely destroyed at a point in time. So what?
Yeah, I never liked that city anyway.
I don't think the people in that city like that city. Everybody in it was so miserable.
It was the only city in our world where we destroyed, and everyone's like, "That's kind of an improvement."
All right, so I'm gonna take us out in our last few minutes,
Okay.
and we're not going to get into a heavy discussion because we've got a video on it. So a little bit of teaser. We are on day 8 of 2023. Have you done any work for Dungeon 23?
Man, I wanted to. I really did, but I did not.
Okay. I've got
And
today's yet, and I missed the first.
okay.
Got my plans for this week as to being able to catch up, but I've got six days worth of work done.
Oh, that's pretty impressive. So I may
So
go back and start anyway, but I will say, like, So the first for me, like I work Sundays, and Sunday was the first, and I was up late because it was New Year's Eve.
Hmm.
So that was not a great combination for me getting anything done
Sure.
on the first. That's for sure. And then with each day that you miss, it gets harder and harder. I actually, if I do anything, it is going to be I am going to do my Dungeon 23 as Zoo 23 because I'm going to do a Zoo Mafia Zoo. Um, and I may still yet too because I can catch up.
Yeah, I mean, like the bare minimum that they say is like, write a couple of sentences a day.
Yeah.
So like I've got 6 days worth of work, and I'm making additions to and filling out Swamp Gate, the campaign, that I'm running for the kids, and really focusing on the city and surrounding areas. Um, so like I've got a format of like locations and exterior threats and all this other kind of stuff. Um, so this upcoming week, starting tomorrow, I'm going to start building out thieves guilds. So
Oh.
I've got thieves guilds to fill in, and I did one as like already started in the actual campaign that I've been running. So like I'm going to take that note and begin fleshing out and building that, and then kind of build from there. And each day, over the course of the next week, I'll be doing 7 more thieves guild, so we'll have a total of 8 to kind of play with. So that'll be some groundwork, and obviously it's not going to be all of them, because it's a pretty massive city, and I want there to be that kind of element to be able to have them at each other's throats and to be able to play like an all thieves game in this city if you really wanted to, and have the building blocks for it. So
Well, depending on how big these thieves guilds are, 8 thieves guilds could be a lot of thieves.
yeah,
So
but I mean, some of them are going to be larger and dominant. Others are going to be like, you know,
gangs.
yeah, gang like might be up, half a dozen, where others, might be like full on.
We run this alley right here, from that
Yes,
street to that street.
you know, but when you've got, that kind of thing, like it definitely has this whole nuance. And when you can be like, all right, I'm gonna drop that in this little spot right here, it's like, oh, well, now something more can happen. And that's all it takes is, you just do this little bit of work.
Nice. Well, it is that time, and thanks everyone for hanging out with us tonight. We'll be back here Tuesday night for some Vast Grim. If you want to see us play a game that is not D&D but is kind of OSR inspired, come back and hang out with us.
And Friday we'll be back with the Chaos Crew and the Untraditionally Arcane, so you can join me and those wonderful players back on Friday.
So Friday night 8 p.m.
Yep.
Tuesday night 8:30 p.m. These are all Eastern times, and then 12 p.m. Eastern time during the day. You can come hang out with me for one of our live chats. So with that, until next time, stay
Stay
nerdy.
nerdy.